I grew up in the 2010s, so the beauty standard I grew up with included thigh gaps and being extremely thin, with people like Kate Moss and the Olsen twins on the forefront. I was a bigger kid, not necessarily overweight, but just with a little bit of extra baby fat. But of course, I was bullied for it, not only by people my age, but also by adults. Later on in my teens, I did gain a lot more weight. I struggled with an eating disorder and used food as my coping mechanism for everything that was going on at the time. But having that weight suddenly didn't seem that bad anymore because now you saw people like the Kardashians all over your For You page. Women with curves and extra weight suddenly appear to be the new thing. And for a while, it felt like beauty standards had expanded. There was finally more space for different shapes, more sensuality, and visibility. But now, just a couple of years later, the trend shifted again. The curves seem to have disappeared. Pilates body and clean girl are now plastered all over TikTok, and Hollywood seems to be getting smaller and smaller. And underneath it all, the return of thinness as the thing that reads as disciplined, elevated, and inspirational. So the question isn't just why is skinny back, but why is it that beauty standards keep swinging so dramatically between extremes? And what does it mean that women's bodies are always at the center of this shift? In the 2010s, something big happened. The internet tried to convince us that beauty standards had evolved. You didn't need to starve yourself anymore in order to be considered beautiful. But now, body positivity became a popular term, and magazine covers suddenly featured women with curves. But how positive was this movement really? We moved from heroin chic, the 90s and the early 2000s, plastered in sentences like nothing tastes as good as skinny feels, to BBLs and waist trainers. The Kardashians sold us detox teas, which made us believe that we could get bodies like theirs, while they got their bodies straight out of the surgeon's office. Bodies became architecture. Women should be perfectly portioned. Now, you didn't want to get rid of all your fat anymore. You wanted it redistributed into the right areas. Yes, a flat stomach. Yes, tight legs without cellulite, but a big butt and nice hips. Features long, marked, or marginalized on Black or Latina women, fuller lips, larger hips, slick baby hair, curvier bodies. Now, it was suddenly fashionable when worn by Instagram influencers and celebrities. The 2010s beauty economy often profited from aesthetics rooted in Black culture while distancing them from the women who originally wore them. The same society that once framed Black bodies as excessive or vulgar suddenly began mass producing those exact traits as trend. Curves became fashionable, full lips became luxurious. A white influencer could take all of these traditionally racialized aesthetics and be seen as fashionable or desirable. Meanwhile, Black women were still disproportionately labeled unprofessional or too much for the same presentation. During slavery and colonialism, European thinkers basically built the idea of whiteness by comparing it against racist stereotypes about Black people. White women were idealized as delicate, soft, pure, fragile, controlled. Meanwhile, Black people, and especially Black women, were portrayed as the complete opposite, overly physical, sexual, loud, and excessive. And those stereotypes didn't just affect how people thought about race. They shaped what kinds of bodies got seen as elegant, feminine, and respectable. So, when thinness became associated with refinement and restraint, that wasn't happening in a vacuum. The ideal feminine body in Western culture was often designed in direct contrast to racist ideas about blackness. Black women were rarely allowed to fit into the category of delicate femininity in the same way white women were. That history doesn't disappear just because beauty standards change shape. Even when society claims to become more inclusive, the underlying logic often stays the same. Certain bodies are still rewarded for appearing controlled, desirable, and socially acceptable. The ideal may shift from extreme thinness to curves, fitness, or natural beauty, but it continues to reflect who gets to embody femininity in a way that is celebrated rather than judged. So the 2010s labeled themselves as body positive, and yes, now we got a broader representation of body types, but when it comes down to it, the ideal body at the time was honestly just a different, highly controlled ideal body. The Instagram body required a flat stomach, a tiny waist, a big butt, hourglass proportions, everything symmetrical and perfect. So the pressure didn't just disappear, it just got complicated in different ways. But now you could build an Instagram following by posting your perfect silhouette. The algorithm loved striking visuals. And these beauty ideals didn't just belong to celebrities anymore. Just a quick trip to Turkey, ideally being sponsored by a beauty clinic so you could get a free or extremely cheap surgery, making you look like Kim K herself. Medical tourism increased and fat transfer methods, fillers, cosmetic surgery, Botox, all of it became normalized. The body positivity movement itself was originally created by activists that wanted to challenge the idea that only thin, white, able bodied people deserve dignity and visibility. But it got so diluted by social media and companies trying to sell you things. And then, almost overnight, things started to change again. The BBLs got smaller, the makeup got lighter, everyone started wearing pink and beige and calling themselves clean girls and Pilates princess. Now everything went into the complete opposite direction again. The second I saw low rise jeans being trendy again, I knew that we would aspire the heroin chic aesthetic of the 90s very soon again. And well, here we are. Curvy bodies aren't really that popular anymore. Now it's all about being hyper thin again. In the 2010s, we wanted the big butt, the flat stomach, the tight legs. Now we want to shrink ourselves again completely. And while it's about two different standards, both honestly scream the exact same thing to me: the body as proof of self control. Women should be controlled and disciplined. Historically, this was connected to patriarchal systems where women's bodies were seen as needing management because they were associated with reproduction and sexuality. A controlled woman reassured society that social boundaries were intact, racial boundaries and gender roles perfectly stable. For upper class white femininity historically, the ideal was often fragility and delicacy. But Black women, working class women, immigrant women, and colonized women were often denied this same ideal and instead stereotyped as excessive and uncontrolled. So, control became unevenly distributed. Some women were expected to appear impossibly restrained, while others were portrayed as naturally lacking restraint altogether. Women are encouraged to constantly monitor themselves and transform themselves into projects. Calorie tracking, gym discipline, clean eating, and being that girl all seems like, empowering trends, but often revolve around this exact optimization and self surveillance. We as women are constant projects, demonstrating control at all times around all different aspects in our lives over hunger, aging, sexuality, emotion, appearance, and identity itself. And when society feels unstable politically or economically, these pressures often intensify. In uncertain periods, cultures tend to become more obsessed with orders, discipline, and traditional roles. Women's bodies become one of the places where those anxieties get expressed most visibly. And now we have social media, the perfect space to turn the female body into a constantly visible personal brand. Back in the day, you also had very slim women plastered on the cover of magazines, getting praised for losing weight. Red circles pointed to any bit of cellulite or 10 pounds that were gained. Beauty standards were also extreme back then, no question asked. But one thing for me that feels really different compared to those days. Yes, celebrities were also under so much scrutiny, but as a normal girl, you saw those magazines, you saw the shows on TV, and when you put down the magazine and you turned off the TV, you still lived in the real world. Yes, that also came with bullying and horrible people judging you for every little thing about your appearance, but nowadays we don't really live in the real world anymore. We are constantly glued to our screens, and now it's not just real life bullies. Now we have little bullies sitting inside our devices, infiltrating our minds 24/7. And this is where diet culture has so much more room to infiltrate our lives. You can follow influencers or certain hashtags, and you get bombarded with endless tips and tricks on how to stay skinny. Women telling you that being skinny is a mindset, and they guide you exactly on what to do with low calorie recipes or no recipes at all. Just drink dozens of liters of coffee, suck on some ice cubes, buy this low calorie product, get yourself friends that are also skinny. Yes, look how good I look, endless body checks, etc., etc. And before you go to sleep, you watch their Instagram story and they tell you that it's the right thing to go to bed starving because this is how you get and stay skinny. And once you are sucked into this world, it's an absolute hellfire to escape. No conversation is to be had without capitalism finding its way into it. It controls our lives, our routines, and our thinking, if we want to admit it or not. Beauty standards are at the forefront of it all because we know that a woman who hates herself is one big, fat, money making machine. Just let the people hate themselves. Put some shiny containers into a shelf underneath neon lights. Label it with something like, buy this and your skin will look like glass. Buy this and you will lose all the weight. Buy this and you won't look a day over 21. And since hate is a driving force Of course, we will throw our hard-earned money into the throats of these companies, while these products will probably have so little impact on our actual lives. You will buy 20 different creams from 15 different brands in the hopes that it will make you beautiful. But now you just have a cluttered bathroom and most likely the exact same product in 20 different bottles. Since most companies are owned by the same big brands, which put out the exact same formulas, just a little bit different with different branding, different packaging. And the sad thing is, do they really want you to feel beautiful? To really reach that goal of being satisfied with yourself? They want you to believe that you are just one simple purchase away from becoming beautiful. The 2010s are such a good example of it. Companies adopted the whole body positivity marketing scheme while shoving a million different products down our throats. You want a perfect butt? Look at the sculpting shapewear. Flat stomach? We have a whole range of detox products. Also, we have these fitness subscriptions, cosmetic procedures, everything you could need. And today we have the whole glow up culture, and it makes so much sense because what do you mean? You don't want to be the best version of yourself? You don't want to become that? How absolutely silly of you. It's not about diet culture anymore. It's all about wellness today, ladies. And it comes for the small price of $49.99 in the form of gut health probiotics and collagen peptides. You know, I would never eat all of that processed crap you can get at the store with ingredient lists so long and half of the things you can't even pronounce. But this completely unregulated greens powder that has no scientific evidence backing it up and has absolutely no rhyme or reason has changed my life. You can buy it through my link down below. And while we talk about my clickable links, I would like to get your attention again. I have linked up with this company, and I swear to you, their product has changed my life. It is actually a prescription medication originally developed to help treat type 2 diabetes, but who cares? We should all just shoot it up because it makes you lose weight so quickly. So you will look snatched for hot girl summer. And it doesn't matter that we don't know what this product would do to us, you know, the scientific long-term effects. Let's just hope that in 5 years down the line, the new summer trend will be having 5 arms and 2 heads, you know, because that will probably happen to all of us hot Ozempic girlies. Okay, so really, what is Ozempic? It is genuinely a medication used to treat diabetes. The active ingredient in it is semaglutide, which mimics a hormone called GLP-1 that helps regulate blood sugar, slows digestion, and reduces appetite. So basically, it makes you feel fuller, longer, and less hungry overall. So, you know, now it's not cocaine, which helps you get and stay skinny. Now you just shoot it up with prescription medication. And I have to say, this whole trend makes me so furious. I have an eating disorder. I have struggled with my weight my whole life. I know what it's like to have food noise all day long. I know what it's like to purge and binge and what it's like to pressure yourself so much for the sake of thinness to the point of madness. Back when I was younger, we already had shakes and pills. I was also part of this culture. I used to drink weight loss shakes and skip meals to the point that I was so malnourished and almost passed out. I know what it's like to be young and feel this pressure that you turn to these products. My heart truly breaks for any young person out there that feels pressure to engage in this trend to just inject yourself so you'll finally lose the weight and finally feel worthy as a human being. I know that celebrities and influencers are under so much scrutiny all the time, but I do have a healthy amount of resentment for anyone who participates in this shit. Why are people genuinely making ads for GLP-1s? Why do I get ads for it while watching YouTube or a show? I'm sorry, but how is that allowed? Also, I really, 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 really don't want to judge another woman's body. I don't want to comment on anyone's physique, but the way that Ozempic makes you look is absolutely worrying. I don't know if you ever had someone in your life going through a serious illness and losing weight because of that. I have, and when I look at someone who is on Ozempic, it looks so similar to that. They don't just look slim, they look worryingly sick. When you are malnourished, your body starts to break down. First fat, then muscle. And muscle loss is such a big concern since it affects your metabolism, strength, long-term health, and bone density. Muscles are so important, especially as women. Doing a bit of strength training can help so much with a better life quality later on, when it comes to bone density and brittleness. So, Ozempic itself isn't dangerous for the people who have diabetes, who get monitored by a medical professional. But when it's used by like everyone on the block as a shortcut for extreme thinness, the idea that control over the body can now be outsourced by science. And it all appears so effortless. You even have influencers reporting their journey in cute montages, with sweet music in the background. Oh, how simple it is. Just a couple of shots and I don't feel hungry anymore. I have no food noise anymore. I lost 20 pounds in a month. But these strong appetite suppressants don't just reduce overeating, it can easily cut out your natural hunger cues. And surprise, being hungry isn't a bad thing. And even if you have a lot of food noise, I know what I'm talking about, you can learn to live with it. It's difficult. Yes, it takes a lot of therapy and a lot of ups and downs, but you can live with it. No, they make it look so simple and easy, but there's so much going on in your body when you are on that medication that just can't be ignored. Also, the cultural aspect is so huge. We are watching thinness become rebranded again. In the 90s, we had heroin. In the 2010s, we had waist trainers. Now we have a medical product. Different story, same idea. We are never good enough. The right body is always just slightly out of reach because you need more discipline, more managing, more effort. Beauty standards always feel like there is a moral code tied to them, even when it's just about beauty. Thinness in particular has always been powerful in that system because it reads as restraint made visible. You look at someone's body and imagine effort, even if you don't know their life at all. And now you don't even have to put that much effort into dieting anymore. No need for calorie tracking apps, no need for a gym membership. You are just a couple of clicks away from becoming thinner. Minimal effort. The method is easier, so the standard often becomes stricter. If you can be thinner, then why aren't you? For the end of this video, I wanted to get a little bit personal. weight, body image, food anxiety, eating disorders, all of those things are something I struggled with for most of my life. Right now, I am at a point in my life where it has gotten a lot better, but I wasted years upon years working against myself, my body, just to reach a weight on a scale, just to look a certain way. I genuinely lost years to that. There was a period in my life where I reached that goal and where I looked the way I wanted to, but I can assure you, I didn't know it at that time. When I looked at myself in the mirror or at pictures of myself, I hated every inch of myself. I was so skinny, so malnourished, and I did not see it. I thought I was still overweight and I had no realistic view of myself. And at that time, the period where I was the slimmest I had ever been, I was also the most miserable due to the fact that I put all of my focus and energy into starving myself. I didn't eat. I exercised excessively for hours on end. No room for friends, for family, for fun. While I was very skinny, I was also destroying my body. I was losing hair. I stopped getting my period. I had no energy for anything. I was frustrated and angry all the time, and I let it out on the people I loved. I stopped spending time with people, and I regretted so much. I didn't want to go out and see anyone I loved because then I'd have to be faced with the fact that they might eat something, that they might offer me something to eat, that the topic of food just comes up. Those things made me so furious, and I didn't see what I was doing. Shortly after that period, I lost one of the most important people in my life, and I honestly hate myself for the fact that I exchanged the time I could have spent with her with the goal of being skinny. So much has changed in my life since then. I started eating again and I started to enjoy life more. I stopped associating myself with certain body goals because now I take so much more pride in the fact that I have a healthy, functioning body that I fuel with enough food that's good for my body and also my soul. I still struggle with my eating disorder, I'm going to be honest, but it has gotten a lot better because I don't stare at myself at the mirror for hours on end. I don't do body checks anymore. I don't follow influencers that are bad for my mental health. I work out for the sake of feeling good and strong. I don't want to live a life like that anymore. I don't want to have a mindset like that anymore. And I know it always sounds so preachy and you don't believe it when you are stuck in these thoughts and in that cycle. But let me tell you, you will never look back at your life, 5, 10, 20, 50 years from now. You won't look back on your life and think, oh my God, I'm so glad that I was skinny. I'm so glad that my body looked the way it did. It will be so irrelevant because it is so irrelevant. What's important is your memories, the ones that you create, the people you love, that you have a healthy, functioning body. And being skinny is truly, it's so fucking irrelevant. And I didn't see it. I didn't see it back then. It was the most important thing to me. And I thought that it would always be that way. That, when I'm older, I will be proud of myself. I wouldn't say that I'm disappointed in myself, but I am sad that I lost so much of my life due to something that just does not matter. Yes, being skinny is a mindset, as all of those TikTokers say. One that's exhausting, time consuming, and self destructing. In order to live a life that's good, a fulfilling life, you need to eat. You need to fuel yourself. And if that comes with 10 or 20 pounds extra, I'm more than okay with it.